Hey guys, so the other day I bought an informational product from a guy named Dan Hollings, who is the marketing genius behind the documentary film called The Secret. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it was a really big hit. And so Dan is obviously a very sharp marketer, and he knows how to sell on Amazon. He knows all the strategies. So the course is all about how to either find partners to help you sell on Amazon, or how to find clients that you can consult for and sell their products. And what this does is it basically gives you resources that you probably don't have right now, like inventory and capital and things like that, which is what holds a lot of people back from selling successfully on Amazon. The other thing it does is it diversifies you. So if you have a seller's account, but you also have clients that you consult for, or partners, then if Amazon happens to shut your account down, which they've been known to do, then you still have your consulting clients and your partners. So the course was well done, I will say, very well laid out, very concise, and I think it was really very logical and easy to follow. So Dan is obviously a good communicator, which really helped. I wouldn't say it's an in-depth course. For $300, what do you expect? But it really covered all the main things and was pretty much step by step. So that was good. And I know that you can get support through the Facebook group. So that said, I have some serious challenges with the course, and so I just wanted to run over those real quick. So first of all, Dan recommends two things that are blatantly against Amazon's terms of service. So the first one is having your client get their family and or friends to leave reviews for the product, right? So friends is a gray area, but family is strictly against Amazon's terms of service. So you can't have your family leave reviews for your product, okay? So I had my the only review I had from a family member was removed by Amazon. And I've heard other people saying that they've had family reviews removed as well. So I don't recommend it anymore. And obviously Amazon's starting to crack down, and they can obviously trace those people back to the seller. So the second thing is that he recommends contacting Amazon customers via direct mail for promotional purposes. That any contact with the customer that doesn't is not related to their order is strictly prohibited and against terms of service. So I know a lot of people do it, but again, Amazon's starting to crack down, and I personally won't do it because I don't want to take the risk, and I think if they do catch you, the chances of you being shut down are probably pretty high. And the other problem with that is that if you're doing that for a client, now you're putting their account at risk, and I definitely would not recommend that. So it's one thing to risk your own account. It's totally another story to be risking your client's account. Okay, so don't recommend that either. Next problem I have is the numbers. Dan uses 25% as a base commission as a consultant. And by the way, the course really focuses more on the consulting end of this, not the partnering, for good reason, because it's just partnering is going to be more straightforward, probably 50-50 split kind of thing, whereas consulting is definitely going to be a little more. It's going to be a little more involved. So, but again, he used 25% as a base commission, and that's not on revenue or sales. That is on Amazon payouts. So after Amazon takes their percentage for their fees, then 25% of what's left over would go to you. I've run some numbers, and even on, let's say you're doing $10,000 a month, and let's say the Amazon fees are only 21%, which is what Dan, I think, uses in the course. There's really not much margin left there, maybe not even 10%, I don't think, for the client. And that doesn't even include advertising costs and all of these other fees. It also doesn't cover any overhead. So if the company has to add capacity, for example, then that number doesn't even include overhead. So really, there's just not much left there. And I know Dan's response would probably be, well, it's free money, it's profit they didn't have, and something's better than nothing, which I agree with in principle. $5 in profit is better than none. But what he doesn't connect that with is risk analysis. So if the company is investing $10,000 or $20,000 up front in promotional product and advertising and product labels, and not only that, but the early termination risk, which is if the company after 2 months decides that, hey, this isn't working, we're just gonna quit, then, and you've spent 2 months working on this project, obviously you need to be compensated for that. And so that's what the early termination fee is all about. So that's probably going to be, thousands of dollars there, right? So the point is that the customer has a lot invested up front, and the return is pretty meager once you take all of the fees out and the expenses. So I think the risk reward, it's just not, those are tough numbers, and I think that any smart business person is going to look at the risk analysis and they're going to say it's not worth it. So I think 25% is just too much in most cases, and even 15% I think is going to be tough, and I think that's really pushing it. So that's based on the numbers that I ran. And so the third thing is that, in my opinion, and I've gone through a lot of informational products, informational business products. By the way, before I got into e-commerce, I was doing marketing consulting. And what I've come to realize and believe is that sales is 90% of it. I mean, your product, your service, how big the opportunity is, all that stuff pales in comparison to your sales skills. Okay? So, and that's what most informational products don't talk about, is that if you don't have any sales skills, then your chances of doing a good business and being successful is not very good. Again, that's just my opinion. I spent 8 months before I had the sales chops to actually start closing some deals, and kind of felt like I wasted a lot of time there, where I probably should have invested my time just learning how to sell. Would have been a smarter approach. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, and this really goes hand in hand with sales, is a track record. So your number one sales tool is going to be your track record, because if you don't have a track record, then it's really a total crapshoot for the prospect. They have no idea if you're going to be able to deliver what you say. And so if you don't have a track record, I think it's going to be really tough to close deals. And when I first started selling, almost invariably the question would come up, well, who are you working with now, or who have you worked with in the recent past, and what kind of results were you able to achieve for them? So if you don't have any experience or a track record, Dan's answer is, well, I can't really give you numbers because of confidentiality issues, so non-disclosure, you don't want to reveal your client's information, so on and so forth. And I've heard that a million times. I really don't buy it. The reason I don't buy it is because if someone was pitching to me and I asked them what their track record was, and they came back with that response, well, my response would be, and any smart business person, I think, well, hopefully they're smart enough to say, okay, well, I don't need to know the company's name. I don't need to know the product they were selling. I don't need to know any of that. Just tell me the numbers. How long have you been with your client? What were their sales when you started? What are they now? What kind of return on their investment were they getting? So on and so forth, right? So if you get in that situation, you're either going to lie and make up a very elaborate story, or you're done. Because if you can't answer that, then you really your credibility is completely shot, in my opinion, because you just gave the client the impression that you do have clients, you're just not able to share, the numbers with them, and then you're going to come back without an answer. So I think you're done at that point, and I don't think it's really smart. I don't think it's a smart strategy. So let's see here. Oh, the other thing the other beef I have, I guess, is Dan doesn't really talk about product price points. Okay. Personally, I think that he uses like 21% as an FBA as FBA fees. Okay, including Amazon fees, including FBA and commission. So I'm selling a $19 product right now on Amazon, and my Amazon fees, including FBA, are 30%. Okay, so the problem there is, if you're selling a product that's got a $20 price point, Amazon's taking 30% of that off the top. Then you're taking your commission off the top of that. And then you've got cost of goods, and you've got advertising costs and all of the other costs. There's not going to be anything left for the client. Okay, so I think if you're going to, I think you need to go after products with a higher price point, so that the FBA fees are not going to eat up so much of that margin, and there's more left for your client. Either that, or you're going to have to take significantly less commission. So something to be said there. And I think in this business of being a consultant, you're going to need to probably go after bigger companies. So you're not probably going to go after these mom and pop shops. Now, it's not to say that there won't be opportunities there, but I think in general the bigger companies are going to be where it's at, because they're going to have a lot more to invest. They're going to be able to, they're not going to sneeze at 10 grand in startup costs or launch costs. So something to think about there. I guess that's pretty much it, guys. I don't want to give the impression that I think the course is not good, because that's not the case. And I'm sure Dan wants to keep your morale up, and he wants you to be confident that you can do this, and you definitely can do it. But I don't want you to go in with blinders on. I don't want you to waste a bunch of time. Like I said, if you don't have any sales skills, I think you should really get some sales training before you start going after these companies, because you might find one prospective client that's a big opportunity, right? And you go in not knowing what you're doing, with no sales skills, and you blew it, right? You just lost your opportunity with that client. That could have been the best opportunity you had. Now, if you would have invested some time into getting some sales skills down, then you might have gotten the account. So I know other people think that on-the-job training is just go in there and start doing it, which I understand that as well, but I think that you need to get some basics down first, and you need to get some training from people that have done it, and really, so that you're not reinventing the wheel and you're not spending years trying to figure stuff out on your own, right? So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Take everything I said with a grain of salt. If you have any, rebuttals, I would love to hear them, because I'd like to think that this is a better opportunity than I believe it is right now. And I mean for the average person. I think if you've got good sales skills, you've got a track record on Amazon, and you can make the numbers work, then I think it's a really good opportunity. So if you like the video, appreciate a thumbs up. I'm going to probably do some more videos on Amazon e-commerce topics, so if you want to keep up to date, hit the subscribe button wherever it is. I don't even know. Yeah, thanks for taking the time.